to by Modelo. One of the greatest knockouts you'll ever see. Incredible. Oh, and down goes Gamboa. Whoop, there it is. Oh, Valentina Shevchenko with a huge highlight tonight.
What up, brawlers? Welcome back to Throwin Hands. It's me. It's Toby. A little shorter episode today. We have some things to do. So we're not really going to get into news. Nothing too big has happened, I don't think. But, Toby, what's your thoughts on this card real quick?
I think it's a pretty good card. The main and the co-main event are a little bit lackluster relative to some other fights on the card. I'm personally really looking forward to Giga Chikadze fighting. There are a lot of good fights on this card, but I think we all know the main event is kind of a foregone conclusion.
I agree completely. I'm just fixing my mic. We're in studio again. Oh my gosh. Okay. Let me tighten this up. Beautiful. All right. So we're just going to hop into the main card. We'll look at the prelims real quick. Prelims are okay. Nothing special, so we're really not going to go over that. Best fight in the prelims is Chidi Njokuani versus Michael Olasejuk. I think that's the best fight on the prelims.
Yeah, it seems pretty good. Chidi's a very, very powerful guy, but he doesn't do super well when you pressure him, especially if you really crowd him against the cage.
Yeah.
He has a lot of power, but a lot of it is due to his rangy striking. He clips you on the end of punches. So I think Olasejuk will do fairly well because he is kind of a pressure fighter. He's got some decent power himself, more like wilts people down than anything. But I think, yeah, it's a really interesting matchup. And then if you're on the East Coast for these prelims, you probably won't be watching them anyway because they start at 5 a.m. Eastern Standard Time.
Yeah, so probably won't see that unless you're an early bird. But let's get into the main card. Heavyweight about to open it up. Junior Tafa versus Parker Porter. Junior Tafa, only 5 professional fights compared to Parker Porter's 22. Fun fact about Parker Porter, he did fight John Jones early in his career. Interesting, I think, but Parker Porter looked good in his last fight. He slimmed down, which was probably for the better. And Junior Tafa, he's a young lad in his MMA career, so this is tough. And they're just gonna be swinging and banging. Let's be honest. I got Parker Porter in this one. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I actually had no idea that he fought John Jones early in his career. That's pretty insane. Now that you mentioned it, but yeah, this is a good fight. I mean, Junior Tafa, the younger brother of Justin Tafa, I believe Justin fought Parker Porter, if I'm not mistaken.
Let's take a look. I can look that up.
I think, but in the meantime, yeah, I mean, both these guys are pretty good, very powerful, obviously. Parker Porter is, honestly, even for his build, you would think that he's just kind of like a rumbling, like big, powerful guy, but he's actually pretty technical. He's got decent skills everywhere. He's pretty quick for his size. So I would probably lean Parker Porter as well. I think he's going to be able to be a bit faster, be a bit more accurate, maybe work in some takedowns. I think Junior Tafa really, one of his big weaknesses is probably his takedown defense and getting held on bottom position.
That's very true. And Parker Porter probably learned a lot from that Jailton Almeida fight when it comes to takedown defense because that was a beatdown. But anyway, to what should be the co-main event, Aaron Blanchfield versus Tyler Santos. Look, I love Tyler Santos. I think she's really good, but I really do think Aaron Blanchfield's the future of this division. She is good everywhere. We saw what she did to Andrade, and yes, Andrade came in short notice. Molly McCann, that fight shouldn't have even been made. She's just great everywhere, and that's the scary part about her. And she's only 24, I'm pretty sure. Yeah, she just turned 24 in May, if I'm not mistaken. So, and she's 3-fight finish streak, all submissions. I know Tyler Santos. You could argue she beat Shevchenko, but I don't think that was the best version of Shevchenko, and Shevchenko was almost at the end of her prime. I'm really not trying to take anything away from Tyler Santos because Shevchenko could still get her belt back. But what's your thoughts on this one?
Yeah, this is a great matchup, one of the better matchups on the whole card. I think Tyler Santos, she presents a lot of problems for Aaron Blanchfield. I think they both present problems for each other, truthfully. Yeah, it was a close split decision loss in a title fight against Valentina Shevchenko for Santos. And she looked very good in it. She threw up some submissions. She got taken down a few times, but she was active from her guard. She was fairly close on some of the submission attempts, and she's obviously got very clean striking. She's a great Thai kickboxer type style. She's powerful, rangy. She uses a lot of good long-range weapons. But Blanchfield, like you said, is very well-rounded. She's not probably going to knock you out with one punch, but she's going to put a beat down on you like we saw her do against Molly McCann. And we know she's got really solid submission skills. We know that she can compete with high-level fighters in this division, and she's still super young. So it's a good fight, man. This is a toss-up, and I think it's 50-50. I couldn't say who I think is going to win, but this probably is for the future of this division.
Yes, 100% agree. The next fight on the bout is Rinya Nakamura versus Fernie Garcia. I did not do much research on this fight, but I just know Nakamura is a hot prospect out of Japan, and I think they're really just trying to push this guy by putting him on the main card.
Yeah, I mean, I can't say I know too much about either one of these guys. I know Rinya Nakamura is powerful. I mean, I've seen some of his finishes on the Contender Series, I believe. Maybe on Road to the UFC was another one. But he's got definitely good finishing ability, very powerful guy. Fernie Garcia is tough. I mean, he hangs in, fights pretty well. You know, I know you hate when people say that.
You hate it too.
Yeah, I mean,
He's tough. He's tough, man.
He is tough, but as far as skill-wise, obviously he's a skilled fighter, but I think skill for skill, I think he's probably going to be outmatched here by Nakamura.
Nakamura with an 85% finish rate. He's finished 6 out of his 7 fights, and his average fight time is 2 minutes and 6 seconds. This is going to be fun.
But it could be a good test. I mean, if it gets past the second round, we start seeing, maybe he gasses out. We don't know. We haven't seen really much of him after a couple of minutes. So
that's true. All right, Giga Chikadze's back. Woo! Hey, let's clap it up. Let's clap it up.
Yeah.
After that beatdown he suffered against Calvin Kattar, he's back. He's coming up against Alex Caceres. And I know the record's deceiving for Alex Caceres, but especially in this part of his career, he's been looking great. And I think he has probably the sneakiest jiu-jitsu in the division. He has phenomenal jiu-jitsu. People don't talk about it enough. Giga Chikadze is 35, if I'm not mistaken. If he wants to make any headway in this division, he has to move quick because he's getting old in a division full of killers and young killers especially. So Alex Caceres is 34 too, if I'm not mistaken. So, he's 35 rather. Wow. So, 2 older guys in the division who are still really good and and arguably the most stacked division in the UFC. If Giga keeps us on the feet, I fear for Alex Caceres simply due to the fact that his kickboxing is top notch. Maybe just had an off night against Calvin Kattar, but Calvin Kattar looked phenomenal. But stylistically, this is a very interesting matchup.
Yeah, this is probably the best matchup on the whole card in terms of styles and skill-wise. I mean, you look at Caceres' record, like you mentioned, I think he's 21-13, but you actually take a deeper look, this guy's been in the UFC for the vast majority of his career. I mean, we're talking about a guy who's been in the UFC since, at least a decade he's been here. So he's been fighting very high-level opponents for a very long time. At one point, he was on a huge win streak. I think he's won 7 out of his last 8 fights, and his only setback was to Sadiq Youssef, who was very good, and it was a close decision loss. So he's got real submission skills. He's got inventive striking. We saw that knockout over Julian Erosa. Incredible knockout. He's he's got great dexterity. Mm-hmm. He can get his legs up without much telegraph very, very quickly. And it's the same with Giga. I mean, they have a bit of different styles. Giga is much more of an orthodox kickboxer. He'll not throw as many flashy techniques. And the grappling isn't quite there for Giga as it is for Alex Caceres. So it's a very interesting matchup. And Giga himself, I think people look at that last loss against Calvin Kattar and write him off to a certain extent. I know he's probably the favorite in this fight, but I think a lot of people are looking at him saying well, you take that type of beating, you don't recover from it. Well, hey, I mean, people said that about Calvin Kattar when he took the beating from Max Holloway, and look what he did in his next fight. So maybe Giga will just pass it along and give Caceres the worst beat. No, maybe, but we'll see. But
yeah, we'll see.
I mean, before that fight, Giga was on a 7-fight win streak himself. He had finished Cub Swanson, he finished Edson Barboza, and those are guys that have been in the UFC for a very long time, guys that are pretty hard to finish, I would say, Cub Swanson especially, and he finished him with a body kick. He finished Barboza with a great combination. I mean, both these guys are unbelievably talented strikers. I think it's really tough to pick because I would favor Caceres on the ground, but he's not much of a takedown artist. He's more of, if it ends up there, he's good, but he's not going to actively search it out. And I think he's going to be very willing to stand on the feet with Giga. So I think I'm going to favor Giga in this matchup because I think it's going to take place primarily on the feet.
Giga's 35 today. I just found that out.
Happy birthday, Giga.
But happy birthday, Giga. This podcast is coming out literally minutes after we're recording it. So, I mean, Edson, man, I mean, he destroyed Edson over 3 rounds. That was brutal. But I don't know why they made that fight. But anyway, to the most anticipated rematch of the year, Anthony Smith versus Ryan Spann. Anthony Smith absolutely demolished Ryan Spann in their first meeting. I think it was a first-round rear naked choke. Then Ryan Spann started to take stuff seriously after that and knocked out Reyes with a jab. We'll get into that after. Anthony Smith has 54 fights to his record, which is insane because he's only 34. And Ryan Spann has 29. So these are two very experienced guys going up against each other. And based on if Anthony Smith had looked better against Johnny Walker, I'd be leaning Anthony Smith in this. But Anthony Smith was trying to give himself motivation in that ring when he said, "You attacked my family," to Johnny Walker. I really do think that's what it was. I hope Anthony Smith's okay because that was horrible. But Ryan Spann's clearly taking things more seriously, and Nikita Krylov on the ground is kind of a savage. So, two guys coming off losses. This rematch does make sense for where they are in their careers right now. I really don't have any faith in Anthony Smith to get this one done, sadly.
Yeah, I can't say I'm overly excited for this matchup. Both these guys are coming off losses. The light heavyweight division is okay. It's getting a little bit better, I would say. But both these guys are not extremely well-rounded or talented. I mean, they're gritty, they're tough, they're veterans. Anthony Smith, like you said, I think he's finished, 33 of 36 fights or wins that he has. So he's a finisher. I mean, he's going to get in there. He's going to fight with heart. He's going to fight with tenacity. But at this point in their career, I just don't see them really making a legitimate title run. So I think it's just more of a grudge match than anything. And I guess, like you said, it makes sense where they're at in their career to have this matchup. Maybe if one of them wins emphatically, they could have a revitalization. But, Ryan Spann, he's powerful. He's got good submissions, very powerful guy. But, when you knock out Dominic Reyes, I don't know how much that says about your power. I mean, Dominic Reyes got knocked out by several people before that. It was brutal, brutal enough to where the UFC maybe accidentally or maybe on purpose didn't even show the finish when they uploaded the fight to YouTube.
We'll talk about that after we get to Max Holloway.
But, yeah, I mean, he had a little good run. I think he rattled off some wins over Iwan Kutalaba. Who's the other guy that he beat? Oh, Reyes. Reyes and Kutalaba. So, I mean, he's got well-rounded skills. He's just not an extremely high-level fighter. And Anthony Smith, I mean, I saw him fight live against Johnny Walker, and that was not a good performance. I mean, watching it live, he looked very slow. All of his punches were completely telegraphed. He was really just trying to land an overhand right the whole time. I think part of it, Johnny Walker did beat down his legs pretty well.
Yeah, his leg kicks were on fire in that fight.
Yeah, his leg kicks were really good. So I think that really limited a lot of Anthony Smith's movement. But yeah, he was just yelling, trying to get himself motivated. And we've seen that a little bit. I know after the Spann win, he was yelling do you know me now? Do you know my name now? This stuff. So he gets very emotionally invested in fights. And I think that this might play against him in this matchup.
That's a problem with him. You make he finds a way to put emotion into it, and you can't unless you can control it, you can't fight with emotion.
Yeah.
And I understand he beat Ryan Spann in the last fight, but you just can't do that. It's not smart. Who you got? I got Ryan Spann by knockout.
Yeah,
as much as I hate to say it.
I think I'll take Ryan Spann by decision. I mean, their first fight wasn't actually that long ago, but the drop-off for Anthony Smith since that fight, he looked good. He rocked Ryan Spann. He, on the ground, he pounced on him, and he finished him with a rear naked choke. But since then, the loss to Ankalaev, the loss to Johnny Walker, he just did not look like himself. And maybe the age and the damage that he's taken is catching up to him a little bit. I'm not sure. But I think he's just fallen off quite a bit since that last matchup that they had. So, yeah, I'll probably take Ryan Spann. I don't know if I'll get a finish. Anthony Smith is a tough guy. But we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. All right. Max Holloway versus the Korean Zombie. This is sad. Ever created. This is terrible. I feel bad for Chan Sung Jung because I think his ego is getting in the way of him fighting because he's not going to win this fight. As much as I hate to say it, he will have to get Max Holloway on the ground cleanly and dry within the first minute of the fight in order to win this fight. This is going to be bad. I think Max Holloway is going to jab him up really badly. He's going to get him out of there in the fourth round after just a straight up beat down. It's going to be bad.
Yeah, there's really not a whole lot to talk about in this fight. I mean, I think he's better everywhere. I think he's a better wrestler. I mean, you mentioned that the only way Korean Zombie would have a chance in this fight is probably taking him down. And I agree. I just think that Max, we saw in the Yair fight, we saw in the Arnold Allen fight a little bit, he can wrestle. He can get people down and he can stay on top. I mean, he's got decent wrestling. So, and his takedown defense has always been superb. So I think that even if Korean Zombie tries to get him down, tries to work some of his jiu-jitsu, which he does have pretty good BJJ, I just think Max is going to be able to stifle him no matter what. And on the strike, like on the feet, in the striking department, there's just no shot. Korean Zombie was not even a step behind, multiple steps behind Volkanovski on the feet. He's looked a step behind against everybody else. In the Ortega fight...
Except Dan Ige.
Yeah, except Dan Ige. But in the Ortega fight, everyone was thinking, oh, man, Brian Ortega's this great striker now. Look at him. He shaved his head, and now he's a world beater. I think Korean Zombie had just lost a step. And, yeah, Ortega looked good in that fight. But we saw him in the limited amount of time that we did see of the Yair fight that his striking did not get that much better. I know Yair is a great striker and everything, but we saw in the Volkanovski fight, too, Ortega really isn't a super high-level striker. So I think it just speaks more to where Zombie's at in his career. Yeah, I agree. I mean, I think Max Holloway, however he wants, whenever he wants it, he's not really a big-time finisher or anything. So this could be a decision. Zombie's pretty tough, but I think it's just going to be, like you said, a beatdown.
Yeah. Dang, only 16 minutes. Oh, we have a couple more minutes to talk. So, all right. So, like Toby and I were saying, they took down the Reyes versus Ryan Spann fight. So what the UFC had done was they posted the first minute of the fight. They didn't even post the finish of the Dominic Reyes-Ryan Spann fight when Spann knocked him out literally with a jab. No wonder they took it down. There's really no reason to have that up. That just shows how brutal that was. I think that's the one knockout I've truly gasped at. When I went, yeah, Reyes really just needs to hang it up. I really hope he doesn't fight again.
Yeah, it was pretty awful. I mean, the way that he fell, like the way his body just fell so violently, and then when he was on the ground, he was completely stiff. I mean, all of his limbs were completely stiff and straight. It was a difficult knockout to watch. So, you want to promote the fighter who's coming into this, so you got to post some highlight of Spann. I don't know if they did, but I would imagine. But yeah, maybe not that one for Dominic Reyes.
They reposted Smith versus Spann 1. Yeah, man, I don't see the fight. Strickland versus Adesanya in a couple of weeks. That'll be fun. I really think people are underestimating Sean Strickland in this one. I do think Adesanya will win the fight, but if Sean Strickland does decide to wrestle, I'm interested to see, because if he gets him on the ground, I mean, yeah, Strickland's grappling is underrated, so we'll see. Power Slap's coming up, man.
Yeah, I can't say I've been following Power Slap too much.
We love Power Slap.
Oh, also, I keep forgetting to watch Dana White's Contender Series.
I do too.
I know
I haven't had the time
Tuesday.
really.
Yeah, I just haven't had time.
Yeah, well, maybe we can make some time Tuesday, and then we can talk about it Thursday. But yeah, man, I don't got anything else. Not much news. Maybe we can find one news story to talk about, because we're still under 20.
Yeah, no, we'll try to stretch it out a little bit.
Yeah, a little bit.
Get something.
Yeah, there's really nothing, man. It's been very quiet. Rico Verhoeven will return for his title unification against Tariq Osaro at Glory. Dude, Glory kick. If you want to watch some good kickboxing, just watch Glory. It's fun.
That's the best kickboxing organization out there. Well, I guess besides K1. I mean, they're both
K1's
pretty
great.
Yeah.
Marab says he should get the next title shot. Nope. No. He should have fought Aljamain when he had the chance, buddy. Darren Till and Mike. Oh, we'll end with this. Darren Till and Mike Perry want to fight. Please let them box each other. Please. The lead up to that will be the most amazing thing ever.
That would be pretty great. I thought they were buddies, though. I thought they had kind of that, like, playful...
I think they have, like, a frenemy thing like Nate and Connor do, because they defend... You know how Nate and Connor defend each other against other people hating on them, but when someone else... when they hate on each other, like, they just go at it.
Oh, here's something I just found out, actually, is that Mayra Bueno Silva has admitted to failing a pre-fight drug test before the Holly Holm fight. I didn't even hear about that, Like the UFC didn't even announce it.
I remember it too. I think she's just trying to get ahead of the news. But dude, if you have to do steroids
to fight Holly Holm
at 40, how old is she? 42.
Come on.
And
you know what's arguably even worse about that is now it's not going to be a loss on Holly Holm's record. And
no contest.
Yeah, so we can't just say like, well, she did lose her last fight, so maybe we should just,
Holly Holm title shot? Huh?
Yeah.
What?
The UFC will find some way to turn this into a positive for Holly Holm and, yes, throw her in a title fight for some reason.
Yeah, I mean, that bantamweight division is not great.
It's fallen apart. Really, it's falling apart. The featherweight division is non-existent. It really was just built for Cyborg, and then Nunes knocked out Cyborg in like 45 seconds. And then the bantamweight division is built around Nunes, and she's gone. So,
yeah, man, it's crazy stuff. So yeah, let's end it there, man. That's a good spot. 20 minutes. I know it's not our hour-long marathon. It's like he and I usually have. But so that'll do it for us here at Throwin Hands. When we come back, we're going to review this beatdown that Max Holloway is going to put on Korean Zombie. Peace out, guys.
Peace.